Have you ever wondered what it takes to feed a giraffe? Well, I'm here at Wild Place Project, sister site of Bristol Zoo and Gardens, at just the right time to help the keepers with feeding time, and also to find out how, by opening its doors to the public, this place can help conservation projects all around the world. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
So if you remember, I said just kind of stick to the back of the wall, and we'll hold our leaves out, and they should decide who they like the most. Oh, and I win it again.
Favoritism there. So Joe, what are we feeding them?
So we're giving our giraffe some browse, which is what we call any leaves that we get from on site. So you've currently got some ash and some hazel, same as me, which is some of their favourites. And they're really glad that the leaves have come out now, because it means we can give them a bigger variety.
And you grow all this on site, don't you?
Yep, so we get a lot of our browse on site. We've got quite a few areas which we have as plantations, and also we kind of make the most of the woods that we have without obviously decimating it too much. A lot of these plants are coppice trees, so we're able to cut down quite a lot. And then it grows back ready for the next year.
So talk to me about how they're using their tongues and their teeth here.
So Deo is currently using his tongue to grab hold of the leaves, which is a real prehensile tongue, which is about 40 centimetres long.
Do they have favourite keepers as well? Do they get attached to you in the same way that you guys might get attached to them?
I would love to think so, but I think actually they just see us as
food.
A
food vehicle.
A packed lunchbox.
Yeah. Zoo-based delivery.
We only use orange buckets for their feed, and if they see a keeper with an orange bucket, they will pretty much do whatever you want.
Oh, amazing.
They've got a really abrasive tongue.
Are they?
Where, because if they do lick you, which is sometimes kind of, they just pop round the corner and you get a wet movement on your neck. The first one's sort of cute, but the second one hurts quite a lot because their tongue is able to kind of rip the bark off of trees.
Oh gosh.
So if they really went for it, it's not that pleasant.
So obviously they're an amazing public engagement tool, but they're not just here for us to enjoy, are they? You've got some really important conservation work with the giraffes. Yeah,
so we're not just at a giraffe enclosure. Here at Wild Place, this is our Benaway area. So our Benaway area is based on an area of Cameroon, where we are actively working with local people to raise awareness for giraffe, with the overall goal of protecting as many species as possible, but highlighting the giraffe. So when people come to Wild Place to see our giraffe, they're not only helping look after these animals, they are helping the ones in the wild, which of course is the whole point. One of the initiatives which we're helping along is the surveying of the parks. So sending money to help buy things like drones, teaching the rangers how to use drones to survey much larger areas and keep on top of what areas need protecting.
And what is it that's actually threatening giraffes in the wild?
The biggest problem the giraffe have is habitat loss. So they're a big animal which travels great distances, which rely on obviously trees to eat. But in Cameroon, there's lots of areas which are turned into farming, which puts a lot of pressure on the giraffe, because if a farmer has an area which is full of trees that the giraffe eat, they quite often will cut this down to feed the livestock that he has, which then removes the cover for the giraffes, and then of course the food, which then pushes the giraffe into smaller and smaller areas, which also leads them to be more susceptible to things like the illegal bushmeat trade, because if they're all in smaller areas, they're easier to hunt. So they really are getting it from all sides.
So Joe, thank you so much for letting me feed the giraffes today. I mean, what an amazing experience. But it's not all about giraffes here, is it, at Wild Place? Can you show us some of the other creatures that we've got here?
Yeah, my pleasure. So where we can head next is our Discover Madagascar exhibit, where we can meet our resident lemurs.
Fantastic.
So the main area that hasn't opened ever since last March is the lemur walkthrough. And that's just because of the extra precautions with COVID.
Yeah.
Being primates, they are very close to obviously us, which means that they're very much susceptible to similar diseases and viruses. So it's just better for them that they are kept away from everybody.
What species of lemur have you got here?
So the ones in this enclosure they're called white-belted rough lemurs, which we have a family group of 4. Let's go find our family of rough lemurs.
I can see a couple already enjoying the sunshine.
Lemurs absolutely love sunbathing, so today is a perfect day to come and see them.
So Joe, who have we got here in the lemur enclosure?
So here in our Discover Madagascar exhibit at Wild Place, we've got our great family group of white-belted rough lemurs. You can see why they're called white-belted rough lemurs just by the fantastic stripe down their backs. We currently have a family group of 4, so we've got mum and dad, which is Ahosi and Hebus, and then we've got a set of twins born a couple of years ago called Eric and Andro. As you can see, they are enjoying the sun behind me and enjoying their lunch.
So lemurs are endemic to Madagascar, aren't they? A big island off the coast of Africa. Why are we worried about them? What kind of thing are we doing in terms of conservation?
Lemurs have the problem where they are endemic, so they are only found in one place, which is this one island in the Indian Ocean, which of course makes it really special, but it does mean that it makes them quite vulnerable. It's estimated that around 90% of all lemur species are at some risk of becoming extinct, which is terrifying. But these in particular, these live in the east of Madagascar where it's predominantly rainforest. The main problem they have is deforestation, so areas being cleared for either making charcoal or farming, these sorts of things. So what we can do to help is to have them here at Wild Place so people can appreciate them as animals, see them, and then get an idea of their story. And same as the giraffe, when they come, they visit, they help us look after these animals as well as our projects in the field. So in Madagascar, we've got a project in the Saha-Malaza Peninsula where we send teams of people, funds, out just to research the area and try and learn a bit more about how we can protect them.
And they seem pretty happy here, but actually we don't get rainforests very much in Bristol. So how have we kind of created a habitat for them here?
So their exhibit does have some kind of semi-mature ash trees, which create a great climbing frame for them. They are from a really humid, quite hot place in Madagascar, which is why they've got these really fluffy coats. But actually they work just as well in our Bristolian weather, which is obviously quite drizzly and cold. It does keep them quite waterproof and quite dry. And when it is not very nice and they want to stay inside, they do have quite a large indoor area. So they can kind of pick where they want to go. But they're enjoying the sun today, as you can see.
Definitely. And so what sort of thing are we feeding them as well today?
So what they've had in their enclosure are a mix of different vegetables. We don't actually give our rough lemurs very much fruit, and that's because the fruit that we have available to us is nothing like it would be in the wild. So apples in Madagascar have the same sugar content as our carrots. So actually, if we were to give these guys our apples, it's like giving children really high sugar content sweets. And although that sounds really exciting and fun, with a social group like we have behind us, if you suddenly give them lots of effectively E numbers, then fights can break out quite easily because some are being hyper, and obviously it's not that good for their health.
No. Wow, I've never heard a lemur before, and that's not the noise I expected to come out of them.
No.
That was amazing.
They have their territory in the wild isn't a set place, and they quite often wander off from each other, and they have to have a way of finding each other again.
Oh, okay.
So they're very, very loud.
Oh, we've got loads of really cool enrichment activities here. They look like they've got a really fun enclosure. Are they quite kind of fun, bubbly, need to be entertained quite often kind of creatures?
Yeah, so our lemurs are basically a great big group of toddlers, which they need entertaining daily because of course they would get bored. So what our keepers try to do is come up with as many novel and enriching ideas as possible. So various puzzle feeders with food in, maybe different scents. With our rough lemurs especially, in the wild, they would spend most of the time looking for flowers, and they eat the pollen from the flowers. So if we can get hold of them, we quite often try and give the lemurs as many flowers as possible, which really does brighten their day.
I love
corny
that.
Is that?
That's brilliant. No. So obviously this enclosure has been closed to the public for the past year or so, but when everything is kind of open and normal, you do get people coming in and about, so they're perfectly happy to be around visitors.
Yeah, so currently our lemur walkthroughs are closed, and that is because of COVID. They are one of the species which are more susceptible than maybe others here at Wild Place. So for their protection as well as ours, the lemur walkthrough has stayed closed. But hopefully when we do get back to a more normal situation, this is a walkthrough, so guests are able to come in, walk amongst our lemurs and find out a bit more about them.
Brilliant. So in terms of people visiting Wild Place, how do people visiting here actually help lemurs in Madagascar?
So not only do people come into Wild Place get to have a fun day out and see our animals, they are directly helping our numerous field projects around the world. So for the lemurs, we have our project in Madagascar, same as the giraffe in Cameroon. So not only are you helping the animals in front of you, you are helping their wild counterparts, which is absolutely fantastic.
So what have we got in this one? Which lemurs?
A lot of lemur species are actually quite dominant, and they don't usually like sharing their spaces, which means that we have to make sure that we house animals in groups which they're happy with. So our rough lemurs are not really the best neighbours. They don't like other species of lemur, so they're on their own. But in this enclosure, we do have our red-bellied lemurs and our ring-tailed lemurs, which can put up with each other quite easily.
These are the kind of classic ones that you see when you think Madagascar, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've got a group of 6 ring-tailed lemurs, which I can see 2 of. So here we have our family group of ring-tailed lemurs. We currently have 6, and they are a society run by dominant females. So actually the one in front of us, which is just underneath the enrichment device, is Mitzi, which is our current leader of the group. And our lowest ranking animal is actually the only male, which is Rakota, which is sat over up in the tree over there. He is the last one to get the nice food. He quite often gets a hard time, but he appears to enjoy himself.
He doesn't mind too much. So we've been joined now by a couple of darker lemurs, haven't we? What are these guys?
So we also have a pair of red-bellied lemurs. So we've got Ginger, our female, and Basoki, the male. These two get on quite well with the ringtails because they aren't too fussed territory-wise. So the ringtails and the red bellies will pretty much go wherever they want. They occasionally have a small spat over food, but it never really turns into anything. The way of telling our male and female red belly apart is that the male's got a scent gland on the top of his head, so he spends nearly all day rubbing his head onto things, so it looks like he's got wet look gel. And the female is obviously we've only got the 2, but to tell her apart, it's quite confusing because a female red-bellied lemur has a white belly. So
of course,
just to keep you guessing.
They're leaping around all over the place behind us. How far can they leap?
So a lemur from a standing start can leap a good few meters, which means that we of course have to make sure we utilize this by giving them quite a tall climbing frame, so they're able to jump between the various trees and kind of exercise as much as possible.
Joe, what an amazing day. Thank you so much for showing us around Wild Place.
No problem. Thank you very much for visiting.